The unknown signal Risa was a young alien girl from a planet called Velaria. She lived far from the central systems of the galaxy, where life was quiet and slow. Her job was simple. She worked in the radar station at the edge of the planet. Every day, she watched screens, tracked flying objects, and reported anything strange. Most of the time, there was nothing. Just stars, dust, and silence. For 5 years, it had always been the same, but that night was different. Risa sat alone in the cold radar room. The lights were low, and the machines hummed gently. Suddenly, one of the screens blinked. A new signal appeared on the edge of the screen. It was small, fast, and heading straight for Velaria. Risa frowned. She tapped a few buttons to zoom in. The signal was too fast for any known ship. She checked again. Still the same. The shape, the speed, it didn't match anything in their records. Her heart began to beat faster. Then something made her freeze. A symbol appeared next to the signal. It was old, almost forgotten. A circle with a line through it. Her hands shook. She had seen that symbol once before. Long ago, in a banned book her grandmother once showed her. That book spoke of strange creatures called humans, strong, wild, and long gone. Some said they were just stories. Others said they were real but destroyed long ago. The circle symbol was human. Risa whispered to herself, "No, it can't be." She checked the signal again. It was moving too perfectly. It dodged asteroids like it could see them coming. It used old paths, secret ones known only by expert pilots. That ship wasn't lost. It was searching, and now it was in Velaria's sky. Risa quickly opened the communication line. Station 9 reporting. Unknown signal detected. Fast speed. No match in database. Requesting instruction. But no one answered. The line stayed silent. She tried again. Nothing. Strange. She opened another channel, this time to the Planetary Defense Center. But the system said the line was restricted. That made no sense. She had used it before during drills. Why was it blocked now? Her chest tightened. Was something being hidden? She saved the data and hid it in her personal drive. Then she sat back thinking hard. If this truly was a human ship, then something big was about to happen. But why now? And why here? Velaria was not important. No rich cities, no special resources. It was a quiet planet. So why would a human ship come here? Risa remembered the stories her grandmother told her. Stories of old wars. Of humans who once saved worlds and destroyed enemies. Stories that ended with betrayal. The humans were too strong, her grandmother had said. So the others turned against them, and then they vanished. But this ship proved they did not vanish. They just hid. The radar beeped again. The ship was slowing down. It was entering the upper atmosphere. Risa felt cold. Not because of fear, but because of what this meant. The myths were true. The humans were real. And one of them had just arrived. She had two choices now. Report it to the government and follow the rules, or stay silent and watch. If she reported it, others might destroy the ship. If she kept quiet, she might learn the truth. But the truth was dangerous. She looked at the data one more time. The ship was old, but strong. Its design was different, smooth and dark, almost alive. No alien ship looked like that. Only a human would build something like this. Risa could feel it. She stood up slowly. Her hands touched the console, unsure of what to do next. A human was here. A living human. After so many years of silence. And she was the first to see him. The world outside remained calm. No alarms, no panic. It seemed like no one else knew, or maybe they were ignoring it on purpose. Maybe someone in power already knew humans were still alive and wanted to hide. That thought scared her more than anything. Rissa made her decision. She would not tell anyone, not yet. She would wait, watch, follow. She would meet this human and find out what he wanted, because if the myths were real, then everything was about to change, and Rissa would be the one standing at the center of it. Asterisk the Forbidden's name. The signal was still there when Rissa returned the next night. It circled the planet in silence, not landing, not leaving, just watching, like it was waiting for something. Maybe for someone. Rissa didn't tell anyone, not yet. She had made a choice. She would find out the truth on her own. She couldn't stop thinking about that symbol, the human mark. Her grandmother used to tell her that even saying the word human was dangerous. In school, they never talked about Earth. It was like that world never existed. It was removed from every lesson, every map, every history book. But Rissa remembered one thing clearly. A name. A name whispered by the old, feared by the young, and completely erased by the government. Human. She wanted answers. So, after her shift ended, Rissa took a quiet path down to the underlevels of Valaria's capital. Beneath the city were old buildings from the time before the council came to power. Most were locked or destroyed. But there was one place, a private archive, guarded by age and dust, forgotten by time. Her grandmother once brought her there as a child. Took time. But Rissa found the door, rusted, buried under years of silence. She entered using an old code her grandmother once whispered in her ear. Inside she found rows of metal shelves full of crystal data cores. The air smelled like history, thick, cold, and heavy. She searched quickly, hands shaking, eyes wide. Most cores held boring reports, old farming laws, mining logs. But then she saw it. A black crystal with a red seal. It had a warning etched on its side, classified by order of council due, not access, which meant it was exactly what she needed. She placed it into a portable reader and watched. A voice began to speak. Deep, calm, old. If this message is heard, then the silence has been broken. The humans have returned or were never truly gone. Rissa's blood turned cold. The voice spoke of war, not caused by humans, but stopped by them. When a great threat rose in the galaxy long ago, the humans were the ones who faced it, not for conquest, not for control, but for survival. They won, but at a cost. Other species grew afraid. Humans were too powerful, too fast, too clever. So the council formed, not to protect, but to hide the truth. One by one, human colonies were destroyed. History was erased. Records were rewritten. And the last human ship was hunted until it vanished. Rissa stared at the screen. Her heart felt heavy. All her life, she believed humans were monsters or myths. Now she saw they were victims. Erased not because they were evil, but because they were strong. Too strong to control. So the galaxy buried them in lies. Suddenly the message ended. Static returned. The screen went dark. But the silence was louder than before. She turned off the device and looked around. She felt watched out as she left the archive. A strange figure passed her in the shadows. A council soldier. He didn't speak, just stared. Cold, sharp eyes. Then walked away. She now knew someone was watching. Maybe others had noticed the human signal too. Maybe Rissa wasn't the only one searching, but she had seen something dangerous. Not just a ship. Not just history. She had seen the truth, and the truth had a name. No one dared say out loud anymore. Human. That name was now locked in her chest like fire. It burned everything she thought she knew, everything she was told to believe. She couldn't go back. Not now. Back at her station, she checked the radar. The ship was still there, orbiting, waiting. She zoomed in again. The signal blinked twice. then stopped. It was a code. A message. It meant, I see you. Rissa's breath caught in her throat. The human on that ship knew she was watching. He was waiting for her to understand. Maybe he was the last of his kind. Maybe not. But one thing was clear. He wasn't hiding anymore. And Rissa wasn't afraid anymore. First contact. The sky over Valaria was quiet, but Rissa's heart was loud. The signal was gone. Not lost, landed. For 3 nights, the human ship had circled above her world, watching, waiting. Now it had stopped orbiting. No explosion, no attack, just silence. But deep in the southern forest, her screen showed. A new heat source. Hidden, fresh, alive. She knew what it meant. Rissa packed quickly. No weapons. Only a scanner, a translator chip, and the crystal she found in the archive. She didn't tell anyone where she was going. She knew the council was watching, and she knew she didn't trust them anymore. She traveled on foot through the frozen forest paths few used. She walked until the trees opened to a quiet valley. And there it was. The ship stood like a sleeping beast, dark metal, old and beautiful. The edges shimmered, almost like the ship itself was alive. It didn't match any alien design. It was rough, strong, and built to survive. As Rissa stepped closer, the air changed, warm, heavy, like the ship recognized her. A low hum echoed from the hull. A doorway slid open, slowly, carefully. No attack. No defense systems. Just invitation. Rissa froze. Then someone stepped out. He was tall, not bulky, but solid. His face was half covered by a helmet, but his eyes were sharp, focused, not afraid. He moved like a soldier, but stood like a survivor, a real human. Her legs wanted to run, but she didn't. She stood still. The human looked at her, his head tilted slightly as if studying her. Then, slowly, he reached into a pouch and pulled out a small silver disc. He tossed it gently to the ground between them. The device clicked, flashed once, then glowed with soft light. Words formed in the air. Not written, but felt like a voice inside her head. I come in peace. I need help. Rissa blinked. Her claws twitched. She picked up the disc. As soon as her fingers touched it, she saw more. Memories. A burned world. Screams. Falling ships. A woman crying into a camera. They turned on us, she whispered in the vision. If any survive, find the ones who remember. They will tell the truth. Then it ended. Rissa looked up. The human still stood there, unmoving, waiting. She didn't know what to say, so she said the one thing that burned in her chest. You're real. The human didn't answer with words. He simply nodded once. She stepped forward. The council, they said you were extinct. He finally spoke. His voice was deep, quiet, and filled with tired strength. They lied. One word, but that word cracked her world. She pointed to the crystal she carried. I saw the recordings. They said your kind saved us all once, then they erased you. The human looked at her, pain behind his calm eyes. We weren't perfect, but we didn't deserve to vanish. Rissa swallowed hard. Why come here? Valaria is nothing. He looked around the forest, then back at her. You were watching. You didn't look away. She didn't understand. What do you mean? The human took a breath. Your radar station. You didn't turn off the signal. You didn't report it to the council. I watched. You stayed. Rissa's chest tightened. How did you know? He gave a tired smile. Because I was waiting for someone. Someone who still thinks, still wonders. Someone like you. She wanted to ask more. So many questions burned inside her. But before she could speak, the human turned his head sharply. His ship let out a soft alarm. He looked at her again, more serious now. They're coming. Rissa didn't need to ask who. She already knew. The council. Somehow, they had tracked the ship. Maybe they'd been watching all along, letting her lead them right to him. She took a deep breath. We need to go. The human looked surprised. You'd help me? Rissa didn't answer with words. She stepped closer, pointed to a hidden mountain trail nearby. This way. Fast. The human paused just a second, then followed her, and just like that, an alien girl and a human legend disappeared into the shadows, two beings from different worlds, connected by one truth. The myth was real. And now, it had a name. Asterisk, the secret message they hid deep in the caves beyond the forest, where the walls were cold and the air was still. Rissa had never been this far from her home before. She had never trusted anyone this quickly either, especially not a human. But something inside her had changed. She kept hearing the woman's voice from the message. We were betrayed by the council. The words played again and again in her head like an echo. It was no longer just about a signal or a ship. It was about truth. And truth had been buried. The human sat across from her, silent as he worked on a black device. It looked broken, cracked from some old battle. Sparks flickered as he fixed the small transmitter piece by piece. He didn't say much, but his hands moved with purpose. Like he had done this 100 times before. Rissa finally asked the question that burned inside her. What do they call you? The man looked up for a moment. Adrian, he said simply. I was born on a ship. My parents were from Earth. What's left of it? Rissa's eyes widened. So Earth? It's real? Adrian nodded slowly. It was, but it's not on any star maps now, is it? She shook her head. We were never taught about it. Only rumors. No one speaks the word Earth in public. Adrian's expression was bitter. That's how you kill a planet, erase its name. Then he connected the last wire. The device lit up with a soft blue glow. Rissa leaned forward. The screen showed an old recording. A woman with dark eyes and a torn uniform appeared. Her voice trembled, but her tone was strong. To any surviving humans, or those who still believe in us, this message is your warning. The council lied. They feared what we could become, so they destroyed our home and scattered the survivors. Rissa's breath caught in her throat. The woman continued. We built peace. We ended wars. And for that, they called us dangerous. My name is Commander Elaine Hart. I was there when the order was given. I watched Earth burn. I watched them smile. Adrian didn't move. His eyes stared at the message without blinking. If you find this, it means at least one of us is still alive. Don't trust the council. Don't trust their history. The truth lives in our stories, our blood, our silence. If you carry the human name, know that it still matters. The screen went dark. The silence afterward was heavy. Rissa felt her throat tighten. She had always believed the council kept peace, that they protected the galaxy from war and chaos. But now she wasn't so sure. If this message was true, then everything she knew had been built on lies. She looked at Adrian. Why show me this? He answered without looking at her. Because you didn't run. She lowered her eyes. I didn't want to believe it, but I do now. Adrian looked at her. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to warn others. There are still people out there who remember what the galaxy did to us. And they're not going to stay quiet forever, Rissa asked. So, what do we do now? Adrian sighed. We find others who still ask questions. People who aren't afraid of the truth. And we tell them everything. Before she could reply, her portable comlink buzzed. A coded message came through, not official, not from the station. It was personal. It read, Stop searching. The council knows you're being watched. Rissa stared at the words. Her scales tightened with fear. Adrian leaned in. "What is it?" She showed him the message. He read it calmly, then nodded. "They'll come. Not to arrest you, to erase you." Rissa's voice trembled. "They won't let us speak." "That's why we have to speak louder," Adrian said. She realized something then. She had crossed a line she could never return from. She was no longer just a radar girl. She was part of a secret the galaxy wanted to keep buried. And now her life had become part of the myth. Rissa touched the crystal she carried. She remembered her grandmother's final words. "Truth is not safe. It never was." She looked at Adrian and said the words she never thought she'd say to a human. "I'll help you, no matter what happens." Adrian gave her a small nod, full of quiet respect, because now they both knew the war for the truth had already begun. Asterisk, the chase begins. Wind outside the cave had changed. It carried a hum low, sharp, mechanical, not natural. Not safe, Rissa stood at the cave entrance, eyes scanning the sky. It was dark, but she saw flashes of light in the distance, silent ships, fast-moving shadows. They were not searching. They were closing in. "They're here," she whispered. Adrian tightened the straps of his gear. His face was calm, but his muscles were tense. He had felt this before being hunted. The council didn't send warnings. They sent silence first, then weapons. Rissa looked at him. "If they catch us, they'll say we attacked them." Adrian nodded. "That's how they erase the truth. They write a different version." They moved fast, deeper into the cave system. Adrian had mapped a route using old underground scans. The tunnels were ancient, left behind by a species long gone. Now they were escape paths. As they walked, Rissa asked quietly, "How many humans are still out there?" Adrian didn't answer right away. "A few hundred, maybe less. We spread out. Changed names. Hidden systems where no one looks." Rissa's heart sank. "You were nearly wiped out." Adrian's voice was low. "Yes, and the worst part? No one asked why." They climbed through tight tunnels, their breath forming clouds in the cold air. Rissa's legs ached, but she kept moving. She didn't care about her job anymore. She didn't care about her clean record or her life before this. That life was gone. Behind them, the sounds grew louder. Distant footsteps. A soft whirring. Drones. Adrian stopped at a wall and pushed on a hidden panel. A stone door opened to a secret chamber. Inside was a dusty table and a glowing console, ancient tech, probably left by the long-lost cave builders. Activated it. A hologram map appeared, showing nearby exits and pressure sensors. "They're sweeping the caves in a V pattern," he said. "Standard council trap," Rissa asked. "Can we escape?" "Yes," he replied. "But not together." Rissa froze. "What do you mean?" Adrian looked her in the eyes. "They'll expect us to stay together. If we split, we have a better chance." Rissa shook her head. "No, you don't know these tunnels. I do," he frowned. "And they don't. Know your face. They won't shoot on sight." She stepped forward. "Then let me lead." Adrian hesitated. Then, slowly, he nodded. They followed a hidden shaft leading up toward the mountain's edge. The climb was steep. The walls were damp. Time felt slow. Every sound made them flinch. Then Rissa stopped. Her claws touched the wall, fresh heat marks. Adrian saw it too. "They've already passed here." Suddenly, a flash. A beam of light cut across the tunnel behind them. A drone. Adrian pulled Rissa into a side crack in the stone. The drone paused, scanned, and flew past. Rissa's breathing was heavy, silent. Her heart pounded like a drum. Adrian looked at her. "You still want to help?" She gave a fierce nod. "More than ever." Finally, they reached the surface. They emerged on a ridge above the forest. Below them, council troops moved like ants. Silent, cold, armored. Some carried weapons. Others held scanners. They had blocked every path to the main city. Adrian opened a small box from his bag. Inside was a tiny metal cube. Risa asked, "What is that?" "A decoy beacon," he said. "I'll drop it over the ridge. It'll pull their scans." "And then," she asked, "we run the opposite way." Adrian activated the cube and tossed it into the darkness. A soft hum began, then it shot out a burst of heat and light. Below, the council troops reacted at once. Drones turned. Ships moved. Scanners pointed. It worked. Adrian grabbed Rissa's hand. Now. They ran. Through trees, over rocks, across ice. Rissa's lungs burned. Adrian stayed behind her, covering the rear. The sound of ships faded behind them. For now, after an hour, they reached a broken shelter deep in the wild lands. The walls were falling, but it was dry and hidden. They collapsed inside, gasping for breath. Adrian finally spoke. "You saved both of us tonight." Risa looked up. "Now, I just saw clearly for the first time." He smiled just a little. "That's more than most do in a lifetime." Risa sat quietly. "Why did they fear you so much?" Adrian answered, with a heavy voice, "Because we remind them that power doesn't belong to the council. It belongs to the people." Outside, the sky remained quiet. But Risa knew peace wouldn't last. This was only the beginning. The truth about the war. Night was cold, but Risa couldn't sleep. Her mind was full of questions, spinning like a storm. She sat near a cracked wall inside the shelter, listening to the quiet breathing of the man beside her, the last human she had ever expected to meet. Adrian rested with one eye open, always alert. Even in sleep, he looked ready to run or fight. His body carried old scars, and his silence carried older pain. When morning came, Risa asked the question she had been holding for too long. "Why did they fear your kind so much?" Adrian didn't look at her. He stared out the broken window at the rising sun. Then he spoke slowly. "Because we didn't lose." Risa waited for more, confused. "Didn't lose what?" He turned to her now. "The war, the real one. Not the one they tell in schools. The war that saved the galaxy." Risa's eyes narrowed. "You mean the one with the dark swarm? The beasts that almost ate the stars?" Adrian nodded. "That one. When the swarm came, no council world could stop them. They cried for help. Earth answered," Risa whispered. "But the council said they defeated the swarm." He gave a small, bitter laugh. "No, humans did. We gave everything. We built machines that burned suns. We used weapons they called insane. We lost half of Earth's people, but we won. We saved them." Risa felt her stomach twist. "And then they turned on you?" Adrian nodded again. "They saw how strong we had become, what we could build, what we could destroy. And they decided one danger had replaced another." Risa's claws gripped her knees. She had grown up hearing stories of the council's greatness, how they ended wars and created peace. Now it felt like that peace was built on betrayal. Adrian pulled out a metal card from his suit. It was worn, blackened with time. He handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked. "A memory key," he said, "from the battlefield." She touched it, and her vision filled with fire, explosions, screams, a sky full of monsters with wings of shadow. Human soldiers, bloodied but standing, firing weapons Risa had never seen. Ships rained down from orbit. The swarm was endless, but so were the humans. They didn't retreat. They didn't break. And then came the final moment. A giant machine powered by a human core. A living weapon. It opened like a star and consumed the swarm. A sacrifice that ended everything. When the vision ended, Risa was shaking. Adrian took back the key. "That machine had my father inside it." Risa looked down. She didn't know what to say. For the first time, she felt ashamed, not just for what her people did, but for what they refused to remember. "How did you survive?" she asked. "They tried to erase us," Adrian replied. "They failed. A few of us escaped. We stayed hidden. We passed the truth quietly. But time buried us deeper and deeper." Rissa's voice cracked. "And now you've returned." He nodded. "Not to fight, to remind them." She thought about her world. Her job, the uniform she wore proudly. Now it felt like a chain. "They won't let you speak," she said. "They'll kill you before anyone hears you." Adrian's eyes stayed calm. "Not if someone like you speaks first." Rissa shook her head. "I'm no leader." He smiled. "Neither were we, until the war made us." She stood and walked outside. The sun was brighter now. But the light didn't bring peace. It brought a new kind of responsibility that she had seen the truth, felt it, and now it lived inside her. Adrian joined her. He placed something in her hand. A transmitter. Small, hidden, safe. "If anything happens to me," he said, "you send the message." Rissa stared at the device. "What message?" He pointed to the sky. "The truth, the memory. Let them see what really happened. Let them choose who to believe." She nodded slowly. "And if they come again?" Adrian's voice was firm. "Then we show them that we're not ghosts anymore." The wind shifted. Rissa looked out over the hills. The truth was dangerous. But silence was worse. And now she was ready to break it. The return of the myth. Council had sent more ships. Rissa could feel it in the sky. The air was too quiet, the birds too still. Something large was coming, and this time they were not here to ask questions. They were here to end the myth before it could speak. Adrian finished, repairing his ship in the last hours before dawn. The old human vessel was bruised from years of hiding, but it still had fight in it. Every dent told a story. Every burn mark was a reminder of survival. Rissa stood beside him as the engines rumbled back to life. Her eyes stayed on the horizon, where distant lights grew brighter. Council scouts closing in. "There's still time to escape," Adrian said, checking the controls. "You don't have to come." Rissa didn't even blink. "You said they erased you. I believe that. But now, if I leave, they'll erase me too." Adrian gave her a long look. "Then let's give them something they can't erase." Rissa activated the transmitter he had given her. It began sending a silent signal, carrying the memory files, the voice of Commander Hart, and everything they had discovered. She didn't send it to the Council. She sent it to the outer systems, places the Council had ignored, places where hope still existed. Then she added a single message of her own. The human is real, and he is not alone anymore. Above them, ships entered the atmosphere. Council vessels, fast and sharp. They had brought firepower, not diplomacy. They didn't expect resistance. They expected silence, but silence had ended. Adrian launched the ship just as the first Council beam hit the ground behind them. The human craft moved like a shadow, dodging, weaving, impossible to catch. Rissa felt her heart slam in her chest. They weren't just running. They were making a statement. The myth had teeth. As they reached the edge of the planet's gravity, more ships joined the chase. But none could match Adrian's flight path. The Council ships were precise, but Adrian flew like he was part of the stars themselves. "They'll block the main routes," Rissa warned. Adrian nodded. "We won't take them. I know the forgotten ways." He pulled the ship toward a corridor of dead satellites, an old escape route from before the war. No Council ship dared enter. Too risky. Too wild. But for Adrian, it was home. They slipped through the field, sparks brushing past their hull, and broke into open space. Behind them, the Council fell back. Not because they lost them, but because they were afraid. Rissa watched the planet grow smaller in the window. She felt a strange weight leave her chest. Not fear, but duty. She wasn't just someone who saw a signal anymore. She was part of a story no one had dared tell for generations. Adrian finally spoke. "We made it." Rissa looked at him. "4? Now," he nodded. "But it's enough. Enough to start something." In the next few days, the message they sent spread across the stars. It reached pirate outposts, hidden rebels, silent scientists, and even quiet citizens tired of being told what to believe. Whispers grew. Questions returned. The word human no longer felt like a curse. It felt like a promise. On distant worlds, children asked their elders, "Are the humans really back?" And some elders smiled and said, "They never left." Back aboard the ship, Rissa stood in front of a small console. She opened a log. A new log. She titled it, "The Return of the Myth." And she wrote, "I met a man who history said was impossible. But he is real. His kind was hunted for being brave, not cruel. His people fell, not because they were monsters, but because they made others feel small. And now he returns, not to take revenge, but to remind us that truth cannot be killed, only delayed. I was once a loyal citizen. Now I am a witness. The myth lives. And I stand with it." She closed the log. Adrian placed a hand on her shoulder. "Ready to see what happens next?" Rissa nodded. "Let them come. This time, we're not running. We're rising." And so, the stars carried their names, not as enemies, not as threats, but as the first spark of something the galaxy had forgotten: hope.